All right. You should have already done all these questions, so if we come to one that you haven't done yet, then you need to do it before I go over it, and then we're going to actually see what we got out of 16 on this, okay? So don't just fast forward it and see what I got as an answer. Actually use this as a studying tool. Okay, number one, Nick buys 3.5 pounds of American cheese. The cheese costs $2.80 per pound. How much does Nick pay for the cheese? Now, I put this one on here specifically because a lot of you are getting into a habit of just, since this chapter is all about dividing, you automatically are dividing. But you still have to be able to read the question and realize, okay, what's it asking me to do? Okay? And since it says that 1 pound per pound costs $2.80, then I'm just going to multiply the number or the amount per pound times the amount of pounds I want to buy. So here we go. $2.80 times 3.5. Notice, I don't line up my place values. Okay? Now, as I taught you guys back when, I said, just take out the decimals. Just do 280 and multiply it by 35. Do that first. So you start right here. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 8 is 40. Carry 4. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 4 would be 14. Okay? Get rid of your carry. You're done with that place value, so you must put a placeholder there. And then 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 would be 8. Now we're ready to add. Okay? 0 plus 0. 4 plus 4 is 8. 1 plus 8 is 9. Now we do know that the 280 times 35 is 9,800, but now we've got to go back in and put our decimals back in. And then we say, how many numbers to the right of the decimal did I have in my problem? 1, 2, 3. So I need to move my decimal. 1, 2, 3. So the correct answer is, since we're talking about money, and money only goes to 2 decimal places, it's $9.80. Okay? It's not wrong if you have that other 0 on there, but since we're talking about money, we only go to 2 places. So the first answer is $9.80. So if you missed it, I would highly suggest retrying it, or maybe even put some different numbers in here and retrying. Okay, next one. We'll do it over here. 231 times 38. Again, I'm just taking the decimals out. I'll put them back in later. I'm just going to do 231 times 38. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. Carry your 2. 8 times 2 is 16. Plus 2 would be 18. Okay. Now we're done with our carries. We're done with that place value. Okay. So we must put a 0 in there. Now we're ready to do this. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And 3 times 2 is 6. Add those. 8 plus 9 is 17. Carry 1. 1 plus 1 plus 6 is 8. Now again, we know that 231 times 38 is 8,778. But now we must count up how many numbers to the right of the decimal place we had. So 1, 2, 3. So that means my decimal needs to move 1, 2, 3. So 8.778 would be your answer for number 2. Okay? So a lot of silly mistakes possible. We've got to try to clean those up. Number 3. This is learning target number, I guess I should put the learning targets on here. That's learning target number 7. This is learning target number 4. So if there's one that you just feel like, darn, I really need to go practice some of these, you can go to the old learning target number 7 video, or you could look up learning target number 7 notes or old worksheets or whatever. Okay, you can go do that. So I'm going to try to put the learning target on there every time. These, mixed number divided by mixed number, I wanted you to show me always in 2 steps. So we've got to go around the barn, turn them to improper. So we multiply 3 times 1 and then add 1. And we get 4/3. We leave it as a division problem. Do the same thing here. We get 23 over 6. Step 2, we do the algorithm for division, which is division becomes multiplication, and we use the reciprocal of 23 over 6, which is 6 over 23. We end up getting 24 over 69. Now right away, I notice that that's an odd number right there. So I know the only factors that I can use here to simplify would be 3, 5, 7, and 9. So we'll start by checking the factor 3. Remember the rule is you add up the digits. 2 plus 4 is 6. And then you ask yourself, does 6 have a factor of 3? Yes, it does. Okay, 6 plus 9, that would be 15. Does 15 have a factor of 3? Yes, it does. So I know that both of these numbers are divisible by 3, therefore giving me my most simplified answer, 6/23. Okay, again, if you missed it, go to learning target number 4. This next one is going to be learning target number 7 also. Okay, first thing you should notice, I'm going to erase some of this so I have some room. First thing you should notice about 0.89 divided by 0.4 is that the divisor is not a whole number. So that's where we've got to start. Okay, so I'm going to take that decimal and I'm going to move it one place over there, making it now the whole number 4. Okay, now if I move that one place, what do I have to do to my dividend? The exact same thing. So it became 8.9 divided by 4. Now, real quick little refresher. Why can we do this? Okay, remember all fractions are division problems, and it goes the other way too. All division problems can also be made into fractions. Okay, since I know that my divisor became 4, I moved it one place to the right, that means that I'm multiplying by 10. Now, the definition of equivalent or equal fractions says this, you must be doing the same to the bottom as you do to the top, or vice versa. So we must do times 10 up here, and you get 9.8. Remember, 1, 0, you move it one decimal place to the right. If it was times 100, we move it 2 places to the right. So now we've created an equivalent fraction, as you can see by the equal sign, therefore we're ready to do this. Okay, so we start just where we did. Always move your decimal straight up. Sometimes I like to actually rewrite it, just so I don't get confused with these things, with showing how I moved it. Sometimes I just like to take it and rewrite it. Okay, decimal goes straight up. That should be your first steps after you've changed your divisor into a whole number. 4 goes into 8 2 whole times. 2 times 4 is 8. Now we subtract and we're going to get 0. We check to make sure that that difference is smaller than my divisor, which it is. Now I'm ready to bring down my 9. Okay, and I start the process over again. 4 goes into 9 2 whole times. 2 times 4 then is 8. We subtract and get 1. Now at this point there are a lot of you that I noticed throughout the day where are just taking this 1 and just tacking it on there. That's incorrect. You can't do that. Remember, all the problems that I've created on the test will end, meaning this will end in 0 down here somewhere. Okay, so if you don't have a remainder of 0, then you need to keep going. So we need to find a way to change 8.9 or to add something to 8.9 without changing it. So we are going to add a 0 onto that because 8.9 and 8.90 are the exact same amount. I'm going to bring it down. Now we're right back to the first step again when we do the does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers. We divide, which just means asking how many times that'll go into 10. It would be 2. Then we multiply. That's what the M stands for, right? We now subtract. We get 2. Now the C, remember, stands for check. We check to make sure that that is smaller than our divisor. It is. Okay, I still have a remainder. It's still not 0. So guess what? I got to tack on another 0. Now I'm going to get 0 there. Start the process again after I've brought down. 4 into 20, 5 times. Multiply, subtract, and finally, I do not have anything left. I have 0 left over. Okay? So that was Learning Target 7. If you need more practice with that, go to Learning Target 7 video. Just scroll down the page, or go back in your notes, or go back into your worksheet, whatever. Okay? Let's go then. Well, it's the next page for me, but you're on the same page for you. Okay. This is Learning Target number 1. Okay. A large bag holds 4 pounds of chicken. A family uses 2/5 pounds each day. How many days will the chicken last? Okay. So you guys have to determine what your dividend is. So you always want to start by actually writing the problem out. I watch a lot of you starting to model before you've even written the problem down. Okay, so we must say, okay, I know this problem is 4 divided by 2/5, and I know that because the 4 pounds of chicken is how much one bag holds. So that's what I'm taking, and I'm actually dividing that up into 2/5 sections because that's how much I use each day. So the question for this problem would be, how many groups of 2/5 are there in 4? And that's exactly what I'm asking in the question here. I'm actually taking the 4 pounds and dividing it up. Okay? So it says use a model, so we'll use a model first here. So the first step to modeling is always model the dividend. You must start there. Okay? If you guys have colored pencils or highlighters or pens or something, bring them for the test tomorrow. It's going to help you to be able to do this. Just trust me. Okay? Since the question is how many groups of 2/5 are there in 4, we need to now take these things and we need to cut them into fifths. So we take them and cut them into fifths. Okay. Okay. Now I know that 2/5, my divisor, is representing a group. Another way to say it, I know that 2/5 is representing one day. So that means there's 1/5, there's 2/5. So that represents, instead of saying one group, you could think of it as one day because the question is saying how many days will the chicken last. Okay, let's keep going. Here's 1/5, 2/5, representing one group of 2/5 or 2 days. Okay, or I mean one whole day. 1/5, 2/5, 1 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 day. And then finally 1/5, 2/5, there's another day. So how many days total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I know that that 4-pound bag of chicken is going to last 2 days if that's how much I use each day. Now, that's great that you found the answer with the model. Now you must use the algorithm to check, because it better be the same answer or you've done something wrong. Dividend always stays the exact same. Divide is going to become multiply, and the reciprocal of 2/5 would be 5/2. Multiply top times top, bottom times bottom. You get 20/2. I know that the greatest common factor of 20 and 2 is definitely 2. And I'm going to get 10/1, which equals 10, which is what we said it should equal. Okay? Learning Target 1, if you need to review any from that, go scroll down the Schoology page and you'll be able to figure out, or to get more practice with that. Okay? Lisa had 4/5 of a pie left over from lunch. She cut it into pieces, each of which was 3/10 of the original pie. So since you're cutting and doing things like that, you know this problem is going to be 4/5 divided by 3/10, or it's going to be 3/10 divided by 4/5. And that's the biggest confusing thing. You guys all know it's division. The problem is you don't know which one is the dividend. So I remind you, the dividend is the one that's actually being divided up, being cut up. So we have 4/5 of pie left over, and I want to cut it into pieces that are 3/10. That sounds exactly like that's the dividend and that's the divisor. This is the amount that's being cut up. This is the size of the pieces. So that is exactly what a divisor is. Okay, so this would be incorrect. This would be right. So first step, as you guys always do, model the dividend. So here we go. So the dividend is 4/5. That's how much pie I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, we got to shade 4 of them because we always got to model the dividend. We've actually got to model it. Just can't stop with just putting them into fifths. You actually got to shade the 4 of them. Okay, now we really got to remember the question here. The question is very key. Okay, how many groups of 3/10 are there in 4/5? So that means what I'm really looking for when I'm looking for 3/10, I'm looking for 3 1/10 pieces. That's really what I'm looking for, right? Well, the problem with my model is I don't have this thing cut into tenths. It's only cut into fifths, so there's no way to do this without taking another step. And that step is to take out your knife and take your pie and actually cut each fifth in half, which would make the whole pie into tenths. Okay, now we're ready to do the work. How many 3/10 are in 4/5? There's 1/10, there's 2/10, there's 3/10. That's one group. Here's 1/10, 2/10, 3/10. Here's one group. And then we have these two pieces remaining. Okay, so that means you have 2 out of a possible 3 of another group. Okay, I see a lot of people adding this on when you're doing it. That's not there. That pie was eaten, so that's not there. So how many total groups of that do you have? You had 1, 2, and 2/3. Okay, now let's check with the algorithm. It's going to be 4/5 times 10 over 3. I'm going to get 40 over 15. Now you just can't stop there. You actually need to simplify it. The first thing I notice about those two numbers is that one ends in a 0, one ends in a 5. So I know that at least a common factor of these two numbers is 5, and it might be the greatest common factor, and it is. Okay, 8 over 3. Can't stop yet. Now you got to convert that into a mixed number just to make sure. 3 goes into 8 2 whole times. We subtract and get 2, 2 and 2/3, which is what we said the answer was. If you're having problems with this, go to learning target number 3 or number 5 also. Could be either one. The word problem makes it 5, but the actual model is learning target 3. Okay? All right. Again, if you haven't done these, you need to make sure that you are doing. You're not just copying down what I'm writing. You should be keeping track whether you're getting them right or wrong. Okay. I have a piece of wood that is 6 1/5 feet long. I cut the wood into 4 equal pieces. How long is each piece of wood? Well, what is being cut up or being divided up or being grouped up or made into pieces? It's got to be this, right? That's being divided. So 6 1/5 divided by 4. We'll make it 4 over 1. So this should be done in 2 steps since we're only using the algorithm. We go and make that improper. It's going to be 31/5 divided by 4 over 1. Leave it as a division problem on step 1. I always want you to leave it as a division problem. Now we can do the algorithm, which is division is just multiplication by the divisor's reciprocal. And you end up getting 31 over 20, which needs to be converted into a mixed number. 20 goes into 31 one whole time. I end up getting 11/20. 1 and 11/20. Okay? If you're having problems with that, go to learning target number 5. Practice. Okay? Okay, number 8. Again, if you haven't done these, make sure you're doing them first before you go any further. First thing I'm going to do is model my dividend. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, those aren't the same size. The question would be how many 2/3 groups or groups of 2/3 are there in 6? So I need to cut these into thirds. Okay, and I know 2/3 make a group, or 2 of those make a group. There's 1, 2, one group. 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 Better make that a different color. 1, 2, one group. 1, 2, one group. And 1, 2, one group. So I know that this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 groups of 2/3 in 6. So here we go. Now we check with the algorithm. 6 over 1 times 3 over 2 is going to give me 18 over 2, which definitely equals 9. Okay? Next one. First of all, I got to model the dividend, which is 3/4. So I take it and say, okay, I have 3/4 of a cake. I want to divide it amongst my 5 friends. And I want to know how much each friend is getting. I told you this is the one that we like to make it into a word problem because it actually, I skipped a step. I did not fully model my dividend, did I? Okay. Now I've fully modeled it. That's how much cake I have left. Now I want to get my knife out and I want to share it with my friends. So 1 friend, 2 friends, 3 friends, and then my 4th and 5th friend. Okay. Each row is representing how much one friend is going to get. And that's the question. That's what we want to know. Each friend is going to get 1, 2, 3 out of how many total pieces? 4 columns by 5 rows would mean 20ths. Now we got to check with the algorithm. 3/4, make that over 1, times 1/5, and I get the same thing. Okay. Next one. First of all, model the dividend. 2, 3, 4, 5. We shade. Oh, my bad. There we go. 3/4. I was modeling 4/5. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now the question is, how many groups of 1/8 are there in 3/4? So again, in order to figure out eighths, we must cut it into eighths. So we get the knife out, cut it, cut it. Okay. And I know that 1/8 represents one group. So on this one, you can go through and say, okay, there, 1/8, that's one group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4, 5, 6 groups of 1/8 and 3/4. Now let's check with the algorithm. Dividend stays the same. Divide becomes multiply. 8 over 1, 24 over 4. The greatest common factor of 24 and 4 is 4. And I get 6 over 1, which equals 6. Okay? Number 11. Okay, how many 2/5 pounds of chicken can I make out of a bag containing 6 pounds? So, again, it's one of these two. It's either 2/5 divided by 6 or it's 6 divided by 2/5. And like I always told you, what is being divided up? Is the 2/5 pounds of chicken being divided up into smaller groups? Or is the big bag of 6 pounds of chicken being divided into 2/5 pounds groups? That would be the answer. This would be the right one. So we would do 6 over 1 times 5 over 2. And we'd get 30 over 2. I know that the GCF of 30 and 2 is 2. And I'd get 15 over 1, which we all know equals 15. Okay? I actually stopped writing all the learning targets on there. I'm sorry. This was learning target number 1. Number 8 was. This was learning target number 2. This was learning target number 3. And this was number 5. Okay? I have 4 1/3 of pizza left over from a party. I want to share it with the 6 of us. How much pizza will each of us get? So what's being divided up? Is the 4 1/3 of pizza or is the 6 of us? Hopefully you're all saying this. Or all you all said it. So this needs to happen in 2 steps. Okay? This is going to be 13 thirds divided by 6 over 1. Leave it as a division problem. Now, dividend stays the same. Use the reciprocal of the divisor. I get 13/18. That makes sense because there's 6 of us and there's less pizza, so not all of us is going to get a whole pizza. We all get 13/18 of a pizza. That's learning target number 4 also. This is 7, 7, 7, and then this is 4. Okay. Last ones. I'll try to make these last ones quick because these should be a review. Here we got an addition and a subtraction problem. Yes, you need to line up the decimals. 3.89 plus 4.211. But this doesn't look right, so what do we got to add up here? We got to add a 0 in the thousandths because that 1's in the thousandths. I can't put that underneath the 9. Got to line up your place values. Now we just start here. 1 plus 0 is 1. 9 plus 1 is 10. Carry 1. 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Bring your decimal straight down, and you end up getting 8.101. Subtraction, 5.91 minus 0.038. So again, you must line up your place values. That is the tenths, so it must be lined up under the tenths in the first number. Okay? Trying to take 8 thousandths from 0 thousandths, so I've got to go borrow and turn that into 10 thousandths. 10 minus 8 is 2. Now I'm on to the pennies or the hundredths. I can't take 3 from 0, so I must borrow a dime. Turn that into 10 pennies. 10 pennies minus 3 pennies is 7. 8 minus 0 is 8. Bring my decimal straight down, and I get 5.872. Okay. This one we already did in class. It's 8.25. We did that one all together. Okay. And this last one here, after a birthday party, there were 5 1/8 pizzas left over. If I'm dividing it into 1/4 size pieces, how many pieces are there? Obviously, the wording kind of gives this one away. 5 1/8 divided by 1/4. So it's going to be 41/8 divided by 1/4, which becomes 41/8 times 4 over 1, which is going to give us a really, really large number, which is 164 over 8. I know that a common factor that these share is 4. And I know that because I multiplied 41 times 4. And I know that 4 is a factor of 8, so that's going to be 41 over 2, which becomes 20 and 1/2. Okay? I hope that helped. Sorry it was a little longer than I expected, but it's going to help you for tomorrow. Please put what you got out of 16 up at the top. So whatever you got right out of 16, how many of those you got correct, put it up there. All right? See you guys.